Yeah, cool.
Let's see. Okay, so yeah, they hear. Let's see, and I'll go ahead and transition. Okie dokie. So we're live. I was having a little trouble with the audio. Apologies to everyone for being a little bit late. But I did get it figured out. And let's see. Well, welcome everyone to the fourth episode of the Squat the Planet podcast. Today's date is September 1st,
The first.
2018. Yeah. Oh, yeah. and yeah, let's see. So I am here actually today with Cornelius Vango, who's been awesome enough to come on and let me interrogate them for who knows how long. And basically, we're just gonna ask a bunch of questions and really get to know you and hopefully learn something new. So. Yeah, I hope you're ready to share with all the people that are in the chat right now and listen to this later.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool, cool. Let's see. I wanted to do a couple announcements real quick just on the Squat the Planet website for anyone that's interested. I wanted to let people know that the featured threads section that we had before a while back before the website got upgraded is now back. So if you're interested in seeing some of the best stuff that has ever been posted on Squat the Planet, you can do so at squattheplanet.com/featured. So, go check that out. And there's a lot of really awesome stories, a lot of awesome threads with some really cool pictures, travel stories, just informational DIY articles. Corn, I think you have at least one or two up there, don't you?
I have one up there that I don't know if you can edit stuff after it's been put in the featured section though, because I wanted to expound upon that with
Hmm.
further experience and knowledge. But yeah,
I
anyway.
You might not be able to edit the first post just because I think I put it, if I remember correctly, there's so many settings, but uh, I think I set it so that you can't edit it after like a week. But
Okay.
I might fix that. I can fix that later. At least I
I
can let you fix it.
sure.
So
Yeah, I'd love
yeah.
to just add to it, but I love the featured forum section, dude. It looks really good.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I mean, when I was rebuilding it for the new website, I was like, damn, there's a lot of really cool shit on here. Like shit I'd forgotten about,
Mhm.
like people talking about squatting stories and travel stories and all kinds of like interesting articles that people wrote. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I highly recommend people check it out. There's a surprising amount of info. It was, I think last time I counted, it was like over 150 threads or something like that. So it's a lot of stuff to go through. But anyways, moving on. I also wanted to let people know that I've added a bookmark feature to the forums. So
Nice.
yeah, it's pretty simple but pretty useful. Basically, there's a little like bookmark icon like at the top right of every thread or post. It looks, like your standard little. I don't know. You probably could figure out what a bookmark icon looks like, but you just click on it and it gets saved to your bookmarks. Your bookmarks can be accessed up in the top right corner of the website, or both on mobile and desktop. And you just click on it. It gives you like a list of your most recent bookmarks, and it's a really easy way to like save stuff. They're like, damn, that's some good info right there. Like I'm gonna save that for later, so you don't have to like do it in your browser, or if you're on a phone and you don't know where you can save it, just hit the little bookmark icon. So let's see. And I think one other thing too that I wanted to touch on too, just to let people know, is that uh, I'm probably going to put a post, or a required amount of posts for the ride board. We get a lot of like what I call drive-by posting. lately. I think it's mostly people from Facebook. I think the word's getting around that the ride board is like a good place to uh, get rides and stuff, which is great. That's great. But unfortunately, I think there's a lot of like Facebook people that are just like really aren't interested in participating on the website. So we get a lot of, like I said, drive-by posts where people come on, they post, they're like, hey, I want to ride, and don't fill out their profile or any of their info, or don't participate on the website and just disappear and never come back, you know? So unfortunately, I feel like I have to probably put like a 10 posts required, and then that'll hopefully create more traffic from people that are actually interested in giving rides, plus in addition to people that are actively taking part in the community and and that are also looking for rides or want to give rides. So just let everybody know that that's something I'm working on. Hopefully I'll have set up here in the next week. And let's see, before we jump in with Corn here, I am working on some new segments for the show. I got a lot of different ideas, kind of tossing around, but basically I just wanted to remind everyone, if you have any ideas for the show, like segments you want to see, things you want us to do, and maybe even if it's just like a general Q&A, pick a subject and send us some questions and things like that. You can post them in the comments, or get a hold of me on Squat the Planet, and we're gonna start fleshing out more aspects of this show as we go along. So that's it for announcements. So Corn, thank you for joining us. What time? It looks pretty bright where you're at right now. Is it? I mean, it's daytime all the time there, isn't it?
During the summer, the sun, like during the peak of the summer, the sun hardly goes down at all. Currently it's going down about like 10, 11 at night. But yeah, it's just starting to actually be night again.
Cool. So what's it like going to bed when it's total daylight outside?
Well, man, I've been an insomniac for a long time. I have like sleep problems anyway. So it's really weird. Like it took me almost all summer for my brain to catch on. I just kind of would rely on being exhausted from a day's work or like going out and doing shit to actually get to sleep.
Yeah,
or just like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, for anyone that's not familiar, Cornelius is in Alaska right now. So has been for a little while. Been doing a series of videos on their YouTube channel, and someone in the chat's asking, doesn't the winter have 6 months of night? I think that's only if you're at like the very tip top, like, and it's like maybe 30 days or something.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you define night. Like the sun doesn't really come up a whole lot. It's not like it's night for, I don't know what the exact time period is, but yeah, it's dark most of the time in the winter, just like how it's light most of the time in the summer.
Cool. All right. Well, we're definitely gonna. Oh, I think I got some feedback there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that the speakers on your end? Because I can kind of hear myself.
Oh, how's that? You want to try it?
Okay, yeah, that's much better. Cool.
Okay.
I
could do headphones instead if that would help.
Yeah. If you have them, if you want to grab them real quick, that help.
Okay,
yeah, I should have thought of that beforehand. But yeah, that's all good.
I got me some fancy Bluetooth headphones. All right.
Echo. So anyways, while Corn is doing that, I can definitely hear myself echoing a whole bunch, but if you want to drop any questions y'all have while we're chatting, we're going to cover a lot of different topics here. So go ahead and drop any questions in the chat, and we're going to go ahead and pick this up when as soon as Corn gets their headphones in, and we'll continue on basically. So, how's that coming along? I don't hear myself anymore, so that's good.
Oh, yeah, you're coming on my headphones. Hold on.
Okay, cool.
Oh, all
So,
right. I can hear you.
are you broadcasting through a cell phone, like using it as a hotspot?
I Yeah, it's a track phone that I got from Walmart.
That's
And
pretty
there's an
awesome.
unlimited. Yeah, it's actually pretty rad, and it works in a lot of places.
That's
So
like
that's what I've
super
been
like
using.
21st century. Like,
I
uh,
really like tech, dude.
me too, me too.
I
Uh,
know.
well, okay, so let's start from the beginning. I'm
Oh shit.
really kind of curious, just like very briefly, like, can you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, just very briefly?
Like in regards to what?
Just like who you are, what you do, things you're working on, personal
Okay.
projects, things like that.
Well, I guess I'm an independent videographer. It's so weird to talk with these in my ears. I'm gonna take one out.
Hmm.
Um, I I'm an artist, mixed media artist. I build stuff and shit. I don't know. I guess I just live my own way outside of society, and I have done that for a long time. Some of my projects that I've done, well, the big one that I've been working on for the past few years of my life is restoring the library in Slab City from the ruins that was when I first arrived to the glory that it is now. And it's it's been a really fun, and one of the biggest things to impact that project was actually like teaming up with Matt to do these cool ass parties and just
Yeah.
getting introduced to the Squat the Planet community. And that's just been a really cool part of my life. And that's kind of been my biggest project besides my personal art. And I guess my bus is kind of a project. This is like my home, and I've been working for a long time, just from like being a nobody street kid to having this like excellent studio space, and living in as much comfort as I desire at the moment. So that's also been really cool.
Cool. So how old are you now?
Um, Actually, on the 13th, I'm gonna be 30 years old.
Oh shit.
I know.
The big 3-0. Does it scare you at all?
Yeah. Not really. In my brain, I'm still like 20 something, and I likely will just have a child brain forever.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. I felt the same way. I was like, what the fuck? It's like 3-0 is like not a fucking big deal. Like, 30's the new 20 or whatever, like uh
Yeah,
I
man.
I never had a problem with it. I'll let you know when I hit
No,
40.
yeah, we're just like creating new bounds of youth, man. That's, yeah.
Well, I'm actually really curious about like your childhood, like where you came from, how you grew up. Like to
Oh.
get some background basically on like how you became the person you are today. I know, big
um,
question. Start from the beginning. You pop out of the womb. No,
so
I'm
I was a
kidding.
C-section baby,
Oh, okay.
and
Already a
I
twist to
was
the story.
born to a couple underage folks whose parents urged them to put me up for adoption. So I was in foster care for the first few months of
Mm.
my life, and actually, one of my earliest memories is like crawling around on the floor in like an unfamiliar place.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and then I was adopted to my parents who were currently in college. My dad's a chiropractor, and my mom's a nurse, and also she's like what is the word? I'm blanking out on the word for a medicine doctor person, somebody that prescribes stuff to people.
Mm. A
Um,
pharmacologist?
it'll come to me like, oh no. Anyway, it'll come to me like in 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
so I was the first adopted of four adopted kids. So I was the oldest, and then my youngest sister was natural born. So I mean, from a young age, I was responsible for a lot because like that's a lot of people, and we're all like within 5 years of each other. So I'm in like kindergarten, learning how to change diapers and like do housework and stuff. So
Holy shit. How so
yeah,
you say kindergarten. I mean at that time, how old would you have been? In I
like
guess
5-ish.
I'm just trying to picture a 5-year-old doing like doing the dishes and and changing
My the
diapers.
first yeah, and the first chore that I learned how to do was like cooking dinner. I could make mac and cheese,
Nice.
and yeah, I had to stand on a stool to do it though, like for my brothers and sisters.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Where was this at?
Uh, and I was born in Minnesota, I believe in St. Paul, and I grew up in like and around Anoka area, which is a little bit north of the Twin Cities.
Okay, cool, cool. Uh, I remember you mentioning that you have family or something in Wisconsin. They just moved there at some point,
Yeah,
or
my biological dad lives in Madison, Wisconsin, who I met when I was like 19 or 20.
hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's really cool. I guess I was conceived at a U2 concert.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Bono.
Right. I've never been a fan of U2. I
Me.
hate them, but he does like a lot of bands that I like. Like he knew who the Dead Milkmen were. Like I was actually
Okay.
really surprised. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
He's
uh,
like a granola yuppie that was once punk.
yeah, yeah. That's weird to picture nowadays, especially.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like, I mean, were you like a super rebellious like teenager, like high school and stuff, and or like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind
I
of
was an
like,
asshole in high school.
yeah, just trying to picture like how you built up to like leaving home, basically. You know.
Yeah, well, when I was a little kid, I was always trying to please everybody. And then at a certain point, I like, because I grew up in a really Christian conservative family,
Mm.
and I'm like queer and fucking dark as fuck, and I like metal and, all this shit. So my family got really tripped out by me. And I actually got exorcised once. Like they tried to get the
I
demons.
was gonna say, do they treat you like Damien? Like,
It was, yeah, yeah. Now at this point, they've accepted that they don't understand me and we're all cool, but like shit got weird for a while. And so I just sought to manifest that like demonic, possessed, like rebellious asshole that they kept playing me up to be. So I
mm-hmm.
just like manifested this like horrible scumfuck person and just like played that out for a good while until I got exhausted of it.
How long did that take?
Yeah. It was probably about like I was trying to figure out yesterday when we were about it, and yeah, probably about 9 years of my life I spent just like hating everything, a total like scumfuck nihilist.
So what led to you leaving home and traveling? Like, what got you
Um,
started on that?
well, I've been couch surfing and kicked out of my house for like, since I was 15, even before then, actually, like since my early teens. And eventually my dad kicked me down the old family road trip van that I loved so dearly. And I started living in it. in my friend's driveway or like around the block in this poorer neighborhood and at the Walmart. And I was doing like bird baths in the sink. And then I lost my van and started couch surfing around when all my friends were going to art school. So I kind of just hung out with the art school kid party crowd and just like, was kind of just there hanging out. And that was my surrogate college experience, I guess.
How old are you at this
Um,
point?
early 20s, like, no, not 18 to 20, 22, I want to say. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around there in the ballpark. Um, but I mean, I had like some serious like drug use issues, and I was
Mm-hmm.
really like just struggling with life in general. And, I was really unhappy with pretty much everything. Um, and at a certain point, I'm like, holy shit, I'm living in a van. Like, this is like a thing that has wheels and I can go wherever the fuck I want. I don't have to stay
I
anywhere that I
can
don't like.
leave.
Yeah, it just kind of was like a eureka moment. Like, wait, like, what am I doing here? So I, I started making these plans, and then I got my license revoked because I had a fuck ton of weed,
Oh
and
shit.
then I had to wait like another half a year, and that was bullshit. But then I fucking got my shit back, and I bought a van for $300, and my dad was trying to tell me like, I've done the money math. There's no way that you can get anywhere for any, what you have saved, which was like 2 grand or something.
Hmm.
And he's like, there's no way, no how, you're not going to do it. I'm expecting a call from you later saying like, Dad, help me. I'm like, okay, Dad, whatever. So then I like pack up my stuff and I just headed west. I didn't have like a plan. And I didn't know what I was looking for. I just was like, ever since I was a kid, I had this feeling deep in my guts, like there's something missing and I need to find it. I don't know what it is, but I'm willing to do just about fucking anything to like figure it out.
Hell yeah.
So that was like my main driving force. And I'm like, I'm going. And I ended up bumming around the coast for like a few years, and it was awesome.
Whereabouts?
Um,
Like California
I
or?
favored I favored the West Coast, like between California and Oregon, and sometimes Washington. Um, yeah, that's where I spent a lot of time, but also I've spent a lot of time like, in transit, like,
Hmm.
constantly on the move, not lingering anywhere for more than a few days. But I've explored the entire western half of the continent, and
Cool. Hell yeah.
that's been really fun.
Now, were you traveling with friends or just mostly by yourself?
Sometimes by myself, sometimes with a big crew. My most fun and fond like crew run memory was like I was rolling with, there was 7 kids total, including me, and 3 dogs, and we're all in a Chevy 20, which is, my Chevy 20. And we did this like fucking I have a couple of pictures from it. It's wonderful. But we had a bunch of crazy ass adventures going up the coast, and I was like dropping kids off as I went up because it was getting colder, and some kids were like, nah, I don't want to be here because it's too cold. Like I'm getting out. And we just shed kids until it was just me, my partner at the time, and one of my best buddies, Nate Dom, who actually wrote a book about walking across the US from the East Coast to the West Coast. And he's a really
Nice.
radical dude. But yeah, we had some really, really awesome times.
I'm
Um,
if you can give me a link to that maybe at some point, I'll put it in the show notes, if people want to check out
yeah,
that book. So
yeah, I'll hook you up with some links.
cool. Sorry, did I interrupt though? You were saying
No,
that
yeah. Anyway,
um so I'm curious where you went to on the West Coast. Like, did you go like the 101 or like, I mean, did you have any like
yeah.
favorite destinations that you would go to or like places you like the most?
Um, well, I know it's changed a lot, but one place that I always enjoyed going to was Santa Cruz.
Mm. Hmm.
There used to be an anarchist cafe there, and then around the block was this like actual barter shop, which I enjoyed. because
Mm-hmm.
you could find some really cool treasures and trade off your own treasures and stuff. But both of those got shut down
Mm.
in the last few years. That was like kind of the redeeming thing about it. But I've also hung out around Big Sur. That's incredibly beautiful, and
Mm.
I saw some migrating gray whales there the first time I came through, and it was a pretty magical experience. Um, let's see. Oh man, there's so many places. It's such a broad question. Uh, I
Well,
tend to avoid
no, sorry,
cities.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I tend to avoid cities and places that people like, especially in traveler culture and punk culture, like are more drawn to because I'm kind of antisocial.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So, and there's one spot that I particularly enjoyed that I can't mention because of my respect for the secrecy of it.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Okay. No, so have you ever been a city person, or you just always been just like fuck that?
When I hated myself in my life, I loved the city.
Well, that's a good place to get fucked up, right?
It is, yeah, it's great. Like you can be so self-destructive in the city.
I totally did that too. I mean, but you know, the older I get, the more I enjoy being away from that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So, do you have like? I know this is going to be an even broader question, but do you have like, like your favorite destinations ever? Like, I'm not going to make you do a list, but like maybe like your top two or three. Like, because
Um,
you've been to Joshua Tree and other places like that, right?
I have this is my Joshua Tree tattoo because Joshua Tree to me is like another home. That's actually where I really developed my current artistic style. I had some serious breakthroughs that involved a lot of acid out there.
Oh yeah.
Um, my first experiences off grid as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a super cool secret squat down a 100-year-old mule trail that is some abandoned mining equipment from like a long fucking time ago, and it's really beautiful. But desert scrappers have been slowly picking it apart, so I don't know
Ah,
how much is
fuck.
left. Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
there's a few other cool spots in the general area. I would love to show you sometime.
Dude, I'd be all about it. Yeah. I love
it's
checking shit like that
it's
out.
so dangerous to drive down, but I took my fucking Chevy 20 down it all the time. Like it's the kind of road you can't stop, and then there's this sketchy ass bridge. Like I stayed awake, like lied awake 3 days before I had to drive back over it because I was so scared to drive over this shit. I was like, I'm gonna die.
Was it just like really rough ground or like on a cliffside
Well,
or?
it's like this tube, this big iron tube over like a big ass fucking deep wash, and then it's covered over with just sand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really old, so most of the sand has fallen away. So it's just like this fucking sketchy ass shit, and it's rusty and it's old, and it would be so easy for like a van or any kind of vehicle to topple over it. And I've seen people on quads get wrecked on it, like, and I'm fucking driving a front wheel drive, fucking van down this fucking shit, and it's like bottoming out, and then I'm like, I can't stop or I will fucking die.
You're like a shark at that point. You're just like, I gotta keep
Yeah.
moving. I'm now you does your I forgot, does your name have anything to do with your van, or did your van get named after you, or is it somewhere in between? Because wasn't your
Well,
van named something the Van Gogh?
so for a while, I was just Cornelius as a nickname, and it slowly became like who I am. And I didn't have a last name, but I was rolling around in my van since like 2007, living out of them. And my dad started calling them Van Gogh because we'd always be working on the van because it's all like, fucked up in some way. And he'd be like, Van Gogh. And it like became kind of a mantra. We'd just be like, Van Gogh. So then I started naming my vans Van Gogh. And my last van was like Van Gogh the third or fourth.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't know that.
Um,
Yeah, that's actually
so
a
it was,
pretty good.
yeah. And
It's a pretty good name story, origin story right there.
So then I was like, I need a last name to go with Cornelius now for like, you know, to identify as and be. And you know, so I thought Van Gogh. I mean, I've been living in ants for long enough that that's you know, it's
That's
credible.
awesome. Hell yeah. So how long were you traveling before you ran into Slab City?
Um, the first time I went to Slabs was about a year after I had started traveling.
Hmm.
And during my first year traveling, rolling on with crews and stuff, actually, when I had my first van, it was a Chrysler Town and Country. And I had a crew of maybe like 4 kids besides me, and one of them was a guerrilla grower that knew all these cool ass spots and safe spaces and anarchist outposts and cool places to grow pot. And I was like so fascinated, and I just asked him to put a few marks on my map. So he put an X where Slab City is, and he actually
Hmm.
like put it spot on. I was able
Really?
to navigate with just my map X to slabs. So that was really cool. So that's
What
how I
year was
found it.
that?
Fuck, dude. I don't keep track of time like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's all right. I'm just
It was
curious.
probably 2012, I
Yeah, okay.
think. One of my first poems about slabs is about how it's like supposed to be the end of the world, like something, some date 2012. I don't know.
Yeah. The reason I asked is just I'm trying to picture the state the slabs were in when you arrived. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Yeah. Um,
yeah.
but before we get into that, so your friend marked it on the map for you,
Hmm.
and was that the first time you'd heard of Slab City?
I had heard the name uttered long before. My friend was looking up, like just different off-grid communities when we were in high school because
Hmm.
he was into that stuff, and he came upon a list of different spots. There was this underground city built in tunnels somewhere on the East Coast that you probably may have heard of. I can't
Hmm.
remember the name of it, and there was like maybe 4 or 5 other interesting kind of squat situations. And the name that stuck out to me was Slab City, but that's because I pictured it totally wrong. Like,
How'd you picture
I
it?
just, I don't know. I just thought like there was just gonna be a bunch of like slabs like piled on each other all over the place. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know how shit works. Like, it was the
yeah.
picture that was in my head when I heard it, and I was like, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And
I know that feeling though.
that was it.
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect the first time I showed up. I was like, well, I have no idea what I'm gonna see here. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people
I
feel
like
that
it that
way.
way.
Yeah.
I tried to not know anything about it until I actually went there. Like, I just kind of filed it away as somewhere that I was going to go in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that. Like, I like to do that with a lot of experiences, you know, keep it kind of pure with like no expectations.
Yeah, totally. I did not planning everything out, like kind of flying by the seat of your pants, like really adds a whole new level of adventure to the whole thing.
It's calculated chaos.
Yes, that's an excellent way to put it. I like that. um, so you show up in Slab City, and what's your first impression when you get there?
Well, the first time I went there was a preliminary kind of scouting thing. I was staying with this military guy in his military apartment with my other friends for a couple weeks in Joshua Tree during the summer. And we were talking about slabs, and he was like, "Oh, I've heard of that. I'll take you guys down there this weekend. We can go camp out." And we go out there, and the first person we see was this fucking tweaker lady, and she's like bleeding and shit, running through the street, and she's like, "Help me!"
The
And this
fuck?
fucking no, the first thing we see, we climb up Salvation Mountain, and there's a fucking RV fire happening right over the
What?
horizon.
Wow, that's an awesome
I have a
intro to
video
the
of it.
slabs.
I have a video of it somewhere, and a picture on Facebook. But it's like I climb up to the top of Salvation Mountain. This fucking thick black smoke cloud is rising, and there's this RV on fire. And I'm like, huh, interesting, like,
Like,
all right, Slab
fascinating.
City.
Yes.
And then we go into town, and then the first person we see in Slabs is this tweaking all over the place, yelling, "Help me!" And this really nice military guy. He was just a really soft-spoken Marine that practices ninjutsu, and
Hmm.
he like gets out of the truck and he like first aid and like and like sends her on her way. And we're like, all right, well, this is interesting so far. Like,
Any idea what happened to that person?
talking about how she's always on about something or other, and she was crying because she couldn't find.
Hmm. Okay.
Typical tweaker shit. I
Yeah,
think the bleeding was like unrelated, and I don't know.
it doesn't surprise me when it involves tweakers. So
Yeah, and it
yeah.
was balls hot. I'll get really fucking emotional when it's that hot.
Oh yeah, I can bet. I
It's true.
bet.
Yeah, like which I found out later, and in more depth, obviously.
Yeah, totally. So you just so that's your first experience there. Like, how long did you spend that time in the slabs?
2 nights. We wait one night because the guy that we were riding with got sketched out, and he was like, "All right, I've had enough."
I've had
Um,
enough of
so yeah, it was
Tweakerland.
one night. Yeah, we we were trying to find the hot spring because we wanted to check it out, and found it, but the directions that somebody gave us took us down fucking Tank Road. And
Hmm.
as a first time going to Slabs, like navigating down Tank Road is insane at night.
Mm-hmm.
So we just were like going all over the place for a good portion of the night until we finally found the hot spring, and then we got completely wasted and passed out in the bush. And then
Good,
we
good
left the next morning.
introduction. Yeah.
It was very
how
slab.
how long was it till you returned?
I think it was like another 6 months before I actually came back for my first like part of a season,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Part of a winter season.
Okay. Yeah. And what draw? Did you have a purpose when you came back, or you were just like coming to hang out and party some more,
Um,
or like?
yeah, I was like, well, I'm gonna give it another shot.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I wasn't dissuaded by all this weird shit. I was just like, cool, all right, want to see what else there is. So I
Like,
went back.
fascinating.
Yeah, I was into it, man. It was weird. Um, so I went back for I think I got back for New Year's, and because I heard when I was back out traveling just around and stuff, people were like, "Yeah, I know Slab City. You went there. That's cool." Like I hear a lot of kids go there for New Year's and shit like that. So I thought maybe it would be kind of cool to see what it looked like when there was a bunch of people out there.
Hmm.
Um, so I went back and had a really crazy season. Um, yeah, it was fun.
So you stayed out there for what, a whole winter?
From New Year's to oh man, to like January maybe, January, February. I just stayed for like 2, 3 months, maybe the first two months, maybe the first time. There
Hmm.
was a lot of cool shit going on.
Cool. It occurs to me too that we might have some people listening that don't really have the context that we do of like what the hell Slab City is. Do you want to describe that for anyone that doesn't know?
I can do that. So Slab City is an anarchist squatter town located to the east of the Salton Sea. It's
In
it's
Southern California?
basically in Southern California, right?
Hmm.
Um, It's an inactive military base. It was a Navy base that closed down in the late 40s, early 50s. Like mixed dates on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I've always heard it was this like 62 or something like that, but I could
I
be
think that's
wrong.
when it
So,
first became colloquially known as Slab City.
could be. Yeah, totally.
But I'm pretty sure that the base closed down in 48.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah, it's hard to find
Um,
that info.
it really is. I've talked to a lot of old timers and like people in the know, and it's just like not clear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I actually have like a map with slabs and the old Camp Dunlap on the back of it. I can pull out if you're interested.
You want to pull out on the video feed right now?
I have, well, I can upload it and send a link later that people can look at
That would
because
be
it's actually a
cool.
pretty decent
Yeah,
copy of the map.
yeah, that'd be really interesting. I think a lot of people would be interested in that, and then they could check it out at their leisure.
Right.
So, so it was a military base, and then people started squatting on it, right? I mean, the story I was
Yeah.
always told was that it, like some former soldiers that were stationed there, started living there or something after it got
Just some
shut
people just
down.
stayed there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of
That's
just snowballed for 40 years. Which,
Yeah, it was, I guess it was really low key for the first like few decades. And then it
mhm.
just kind of exploded in popularity in the last maybe 10, 20 years.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Well, we can go into a whole thing on Slab City, but I'm kind of curious. You said you spent you spent a season there, um, and then I take it you left for the summer, and then I'm trying to. How long was it before you came back and started like quote unquote living in the slabs? You know, like that started
Um,
with the library, right?
well, I did three like uh winter seasons, the first partial one, and then two after that where I stayed for longer periods of time. And then during the rest of the time, I was just cruising up and down the coast and all over the place, like wherever the wind took me, and
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed being on the road and stuff. And my fourth winter season, I came back after I had been staying in Joshua Tree for a while, trying to I was trying to get a job or something so I could buy a patch of land out there and kind of basically start a community space where I could tell my friends like, hey, come over here, build forts, let's hang out and like fucking, basically what I did with the library. But
Mm-hmm.
so I was like out in Joshua Tree and shit was not panning out, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna sit here and beat a dead horse. I'm gonna just fuck off and go hang out in slabs again because that's been fun for the past few years. So I went back and I got to thinking that what if I try to um, build something here? There's like basically no risk, especially if I'm building with salvaged materials and stuff like that. Um, so I started kind of scouting for spots. I originally had it in
In
my
the
head that
slabs.
yeah, when I went back for the winter, during
Mm-hmm.
like the later part of the winter, I started kind of thinking about it more. And I originally kind of was thinking that I wanted to build a art gallery or something because I do art, and I thought that was cool. That would be cool because there wasn't really an actual gallery anywhere in slabs besides like East Jesus and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a few people turned me on to the library, which had been abandoned for a while and was in just not good shape. Uh, so yeah, I
Can
moved in.
you can you give us a little bit of history about the library before you moved in?
So the winter season before was my first introduction to the library. I had been coming to Slabs for seasons and hadn't heard of it. And these folks decided to kind of move in and fix it up a little bit and make it nice. And they put a lot of work into it for a couple of months. Um, But when I came back the next season, um, it had fallen back into disrepair again and had obviously not been worked on in a long time. Like when it was being worked on, I helped out and I loved it. I was all about it. Like, this is awesome. This is what Slabs needs, you know. I'm so
Mm.
stoked. And actually went in and helped sort books and participated in like these book studies, even though it was like not necessarily book studies that I was interested in. You know, I was just like showing mad support for like what people were doing at the library. And so when I came back the next season and it was like almost worse than when I had first seen it before it started getting fixed up,
Mm-hmm.
um, I was like, wow, this is so sad, you know, and I felt like really strongly about it. And so I put a lot of thought into it over part of the season. And actually, Rob at the internet cafe kept like nudging me, like, come on, Cornelius, you should move into the library. We'll be neighbors and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, come on. There's a few other people who were like, yeah, you know, that'd be cool. So I fucking, I used to camp at the tanks. I was at the war tank, and that was my spot for all those past seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So my van was in really bad shape, and I drove it down from the tanks, and it fucking just conked out the moment I fucking laid it to rest at the library. And I was like,
Just like I'm ready.
like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna be here for a while because I can't pay to fix that right now.
Well, so just to give people some context that aren't familiar, how did the library get there in the first place before I think even either of us had ever been to the slabs?
Yeah. Well, a woman named Rosalie, that was her slab name. Her Christian name was Peggy Sadlick.
Hmm.
Um, and she came out to Slab City and was a really radical, inspiring woman. I've seen a few documentaries and like videos of her and heard a lot of stories. She came out to Slabs, I believe, in like 1998, 99, I want to say. And she was a librarian by trade. That's what she did. And
Hmm.
she decided to build a library and had it all cataloged um, and yeah, and a lot of people just really liked it, and it was really a good thing for Slabs. Then she passed away in 2003, um, and other folks have taken care of the library in since then, but it from that point kind of just deteriorated.
Hmm. It
And
laid abandoned for quite a while, right? Until those folks that you were just talking
yeah,
about moved in.
yeah, other folks had come in and built onto it a bit, and you know, it was kind of an interesting mashup of other people's attempts
Hmm.
at you know reviving it.
If I remember correctly, I think by the time you came along, a lot of people had been picking away at various parts of it as well, right? For scrapping materials. There wasn't like a whole
Yeah.
lot left by the time you got there.
Well, when I first moved in, there were two people that were kind of squatting in it. Like, and squatting is one thing, but I mean, these guys were like not doing anything for the place. There
Hmm.
was a couple of folks who were just using the library for donations and living in the near vicinity, and like some folks were actually literally like pulling boards off of shit and fucking using books to light their fires. And so it was kind of weird because they were there before me. So they had like some kind of seniority. And this is like, you know, in a fucking anarchist environment. And like, fucking, so who am I? I can't, like, I mean, I could have been like, all right, get the fuck out of here. But then I would have been a tyrant. So
Hmm.
then it's like, I just kind of had to outlast them because I knew it was only a matter of time before shit got fucking like real and they wouldn't be able to handle it because you know. And so I got in there and I started asserting myself like, no, you can't fucking take shit off the shelves and start your fires with it. I'm gonna put the culls, like the fucking trashed books, in a pile and you can burn those all you fucking want, but if it's not in this fucking bin, you don't fuck with the books. And then I, you know, like fucking you can't take shit from the building supplies pile anymore. If you want to have a water bin out, you can have it over here, not over here, and just like slowly kind of like asserting myself over the space and like taking charge in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. It was a weird social dynamic that had to happen in order for this fucking shit to stop. But I chose to incorporate them in the rebuilding of the library rather than try to run them out, because I wasn't really positioned at that point to just run people out of the space, because
Yeah.
they had been there before me.
Just a quick side question. When you say the slabs are like anarchist, do you mean like more in like a just like loose knit kind of way, but not, or more so like anarchist politically?
Well, the way that I understand anarchy is not in a political way, because it's not political. It's just a natural state of being and self-governance.
Mm-hmm.
So when I refer to anarchy, I refer to self-governance, basically.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just like clarify that a little bit. Uh,
Right.
so when did they? Why did they leave? And then at that point you could take over. Was it the heat from the summer, or how'd that happen?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was the season changing and it getting hot, and both of these people were like weak and unable to like provide for themselves in a more extreme kind of climate. So they left. And is like, yeah, it was just fucking outlasting them. One person had bad lungs, and she would constantly bitch about like, I'm these books, and it's like, no, you're not. You're just throwing them in the fire pit. Like, what are you doing? And she would like be hacking up a lung because of all the dust and like loudly proclaiming how much she did at the library, while like actually get shit done, because she felt like she was the true librarian. It was
Yeah.
it was
Hmm.
pretty interesting.
So they eventually left. And did you stick around for the summer? Is that how you started out there?
Yeah, I stayed in. I lived at the library for 3.5 years solid.
Three and a
I
half
left.
years at the library.
Yeah, I took a month break while you babysat that winter.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was actually. I mean, it was pretty. It was fun. Although I definitely learned firsthand all any of your gripes about tourists and other things in the slabs. I got to learn firsthand after babysitting the library for like I think it was like 2 months or something like that while you were out.
Was it 2 months? Holy shit!
It
Yeah, it
was
was.
it was at least 2 months. I want to say it was like 2.5. Maybe it just felt like that.
I think it was 2, but that's when I was getting my bus and doing the fucking Standing Rock thing. There's a bee in here. There's 2 bees in here. 3, huh? Okay.
Well,
Well, there's a bunch of bees in my van or bus.
hopefully they're not attacking. Uh,
Not a chill.
cool, cool. Well, before let's see, I kind of wanted to touch on like your experiences living in Slab City at the library. Uh, I One of the things I had kind of like written down here was I was just kind of wondering like what your best and worst experiences were, if you're willing to share that.
Hmm. I mean, I have a lot of best experiences. Um, some of my best experiences were some weird jam sessions that Bill was demented enough to permit at the range. And
So you just got
uh,
to play music. Was it during one of the Friday night open stages?
man, Bill is so chaotic neutral sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like some of the weird shit we've done on stage, and he'll just like sit back and be like, "Well, nobody else is in line. Doesn't matter." You people can stay or you can fuck off. I don't care. Like,
And just
so
so
funny.
people know too, Builder Bill does,
They're in it for the ride. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say he does a open mic night that the town kind of gathers around every Saturday now, I believe. And so that's what you're describing is like signing up one night and just kind of taking over jam band jam banding all night, I guess. Yeah.
End of night, man. It gets weird.
Yeah, those are pretty interesting because the whole town comes together, but also you hear the same music every week, but then every once in a while you hear new people come in, and then like you said, like there's people like yourself that come in and just like rock with like a random jam for like forever. So that's cool. Any other like really crazy experience? I know people always talk about the bombing range, which is right next to Slab City. I imagine over 3 years you got to seen some hell of a light show on
Yeah,
occasion.
there was there was one morning where I was awakened by what I thought was something exploding under my van. Like, boom, I felt like I got kicked in the face. I was like, whoa. And I jump out of bed and I'm like, holy fuck. And I'm like trying to figure out what it is. And I look out to the horizon because my van is like poised. So I have a beautiful morning view over the bombing range. And I just see this like giant fucking mushroom cloud rising up. And I'm like, well, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of those experiences myself. You're just like, Jesus fucking Christ, who just died? Mushroom cloud in the distance, and you're like, whoa, that was intense.
Yeah.
um, what? So, like, let's go with like, what are your favorite things about the slabs?
Um, I like one of my favorite things about the slabs is that it's kind of like a desert Tortuga in that it's like by pirates for pirates. You can go to
Hell yeah.
enclaves in other cities and towns for pirates. We're still in their territory.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, slabs is like, it's our turf. And I really like that. And I feel super safe there, even though it's like probably less safe. Like, but I understand it better, and that's like my favorite thing about slabs. The motto is we're all here because we're not all there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or post-apocalyptic living in a pre-apocalyptic world. Or I like that. I also like the freedom of expression that people have. People have such a wild sense of fashion, and they're not afraid to express it in slabs. I love it. You'll see more guys in dresses than females in dresses in slabs, and like that's totally normal and everyday shit.
Yeah, I don't think you
um
get weird looks for even
and
having facial tattoos and things.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's not weird at all,
Hmm.
and I like that. It's
Yeah,
cool.
hell yeah, I love it. Facial tattoos for everyone.
It's just great to be in a place where I'm not looked at as a weirdo. I'm just like another regular person just walking around doing regular people shit.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I actually totally identify with that. It's probably one of the most comfortable places I've ever felt where I just don't have to worry about what the fuck people think about me. So,
Yeah, it's nice to feel that way.
absolutely. Kind of feels a little like home.
Hmm.
um, So I mean, those are a couple of good things that you like about it. Anything like you dislike? I'm sure there's some things to hate.
I dislike that it gets so fucking hot. I mean, but that can't really be helped much
Hmm.
because of the location.
Yeah, being in the
Um,
desert, it gets up to about like it peaks out about 125 during the
Something like
August, I
that.
think. Yeah, I
Yeah, it
can't.
can get
Oh,
up to 130.
yeah, that's insane.
It's nasty. Yeah, and I live outside in a bush. My AC is layers of shade
Hmm.
and wet cloth.
How do you survive like that during the summer? For people that
That's
don't know, I mean, you just don't move, right?
yeah, you just don't move. You catch up on all your favorite TV shows and your blogging, and just like lay very still and don't touch anything because it's going to be hotter than your body.
Yeah, kind of do things at night instead of during the day.
Well, at night you want to sleep because it's so exhausting just
Mm.
existing all day long, and you can't sleep during the day because it's really hot unless you have a really cool setup where some people have like cold caves that they crawl into during the day and just nap or watch Netflix or whatever,
Hmm.
and then they'll come out at night. But like, I don't know, I feel I feel weird when I do that. I have enough trouble sleeping as is. I'm not gonna like switch up my whole thing,
Okay.
you
Yeah, yeah.
know.
I've heard people tell me they do that, but that's interesting that I mean that you don't. So uh,
Anybody that I've met that does that is actually a tweaker. So I don't know.
I would not be surprised. Think the people I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah, just being real.
Speaking of the tweakers, people like the, especially the media and stuff, like loves to kind of blow up the whole like, oh, it's just a bunch of druggies and you know you're gonna get murdered in the desert and all that kind of like really blown over stuff. How do you feel about that? I mean, is that very realistic? People, a lot of people are scared to come to the slabs because of the stories they hear.
Well, the media likes to play up the danger aspect of pretty much everything because it
Mm.
sells. And one of the main reasons that I started making my YouTube videos was because I was sick of the misrepresentation of Slab City
Mm-hmm.
on media, and I wanted to kind of counterbalance that. Like, I don't try to glorify it and make it look like a hippie paradise because it's fucking not.
Yeah.
Um, but there is some very real shit to it, you know. In a lot of my videos, there's dangerous stuff happening, in a lot of real life. Like I've definitely had encounters with dangerous people, but I honestly don't think that there's any more danger in Slab City than any other city. I think that it's just you're more aware of what's happening because you're not living in your traditional separated four walls, and you're aware of what your neighbors are up to. You can hear everything happening. You have to interact with other people because there's no rules and regulations keeping
Mm-hmm.
you separated from your neighbors. So I don't know. I think it's just like in a lot of places, like people all over the world live like people do in the slabs,
Yeah.
you know.
So um, I'm like, let's see. I think we covered the history of the library, kind of how you got there, why you wanted to be there. Um, you, would you mind just real briefly, like touching on what it was like to live in the library every day? Because you have like things like tourists coming by, people. You did events there. You want to kind of describe that type of stuff?
Yeah, I actually was just trying to see what I could do if I put all of my life energy into a project, and it got to be a lot of stuff to do, and a lot of it was self-imposed responsibilities, and I was all about it. It was a lot of fun to put a lot of effort into just like helping this thing grow and hosting all these people and talking to tourists. I got really frustrated with I'm really antisocial, but I feel really passionately about sharing information with as many people as possible. So I have to like put myself like I have to do this filter, but sometimes my filter drops and I say something really offensive to somebody,
I've
and
seen your filter
that
drop. I'm just like, ooh.
whoops. Yeah, I'm working on that. But so like dealing with people day in and day out, like asking the same shit, it wears down on you, and eventually,
Hmm.
like sometimes you just I have a punching bag in the back of the library, like in the kitchen area right behind my office. So like after I'm done talking to some people, sometimes I'll just go in the back and start like wailing on the punching bag, just get my aggression out, and then go back out and answer some more questions.
I think a lot of people are really curious, like what they'll find in the library. What are some of the things that like people will come across when they walk in?
A lot of weird art and a fuck ton of books and probably a bunch of punks hanging out at the bar.
Hmm. So
And
you have a bar.
sometimes, yes, there's a bar. It's like the central like hub of the library, and I'm really proud of it. Um,
You serve
it's
drinks there?
Yeah, it's donation based. You can bring in booze to share with the bar, and we'll put it behind the bar and like serve it for donations. And people can put in what they can, or if they're crew, they get complimentary drinks from time to time as it's fair and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So
Cool, cool.
yeah,
To throw a lot of parties and things like that. Obviously, we do the Jamboree there every year, but there's, we've had a lot of other parties too. So,
I've got a pretty extensive like party planning and hosting resume. Um, that's kind of always been a thing that I've loved doing. Um, I've orchestrated a lot of big. I mean, I say big. I mean like 20 people, but acid parties at like fucking
hmm.
cool ass locations where there's a ton of art and stuff and um, shit like that. So like doing the Jambo has been like top of the list for me. Like that's been a really
Oh yeah.
fucking cool experience. I
I,
love fucking working on that with
yeah,
you.
I really enjoy it too. It's like the highlight of my year for sure. Just to let people know too, like we're doing it again this November the 9th to the 12th, I believe. Um, it's like a weekend in the second weekend of November. So, if y'all want to come out and party at a Mad Max apocalyptic town in the desert and
Up on
at
my house.
at a library in the middle of it, you should absolutely come and do that. It's free. And yeah, it's pretty cool. You can check out information actually at squattheplanet.com/fest. And you can get more information about that. But moving on, I have one question, actually two questions that people asked me on Facebook to ask you about the
Okay.
library. Uh, the first is from Ton Sunkis on Facebook. He asked, "Are there any books that you wouldn't put in the library?"
Uh More Bibles.
Kindling, right?
I ain't saying. I'm just saying. Um,
Has anybody dropped off anything weird that you're just like, I'm not comfortable with this being in here?
yeah, I've gotten actually quite a few donations of really offensive, like fundamentalist religious books that
Hmm.
were just completely fucked, just terrible. And I felt like it would be irresponsible of me to like allow someone else to read them. They were just so wrong and just rude and terrible. So yeah, I delighted in burning them.
It's funny too because it has to be pretty bad. I know that the library has a religion section and a Christian section inside that religion
Yeah,
section and all the things. So it's not like you're
it's a big
anti.
section. We have a
Yeah,
lot of Christian stuff.
yeah. So it's not like anything that even smells of that you burn or something, but it has to be something pretty bad.
Some of it is also like
Yeah.
really sexist books, like how to like bed women or how to win people,
Oh, I
and
forgot
I
about
don't know,
that.
like, or
I remember that
women are
picking
from
up chicks
Venus, and
book. Do you?
yeah,
Yeah,
they're real trash in there.
yeah. It's like how to pick up women and that type of thing. They're just like, oh my god, you just like roll your
It's
eyes
really
so
bad
hard.
advice.
Yeah. Uh, um, the second question actually is actually from Tom again. Are there any books that would be perfect for the library but have yet to be written?
But have yet to be.
Yeah, so a book that hasn't been written yet but would fit in perfectly in the library. That's like a puzzle right there.
I think it should be like, I don't know, a comprehensive historical outline in format of like the rise of Squat the Planet and Cornelius Vango.
How we came to world domination.
Yes, but it'll include the future shit that we haven't done yet. So it's yet to be written.
So we can follow it as a guidebook, really. Like,
Yeah, but yeah, we'll be the only ones that have access to space in time.
hell yeah, that's a good. Okay, I can get down with that. Oh man. Okay, well, I actually, the next thing I wanted to touch on is your school bus,
Uh huh.
where you're at right now, where we're seeing you from. Um,
um.
how did that come about?
Well, I actually got a weird random settlement that I didn't know that I had, and it found me maybe my second year living at the library. And so I went on a big trip with it, and I bought a school bus after my van broke down.
Yeah, I remember your van was on its last legs pretty much anyways, right?
It was, yeah, it was. It had a lot of problems, but it made it all the way to North Dakota and
Hmm.
then to Minnesota afterward. And it was actually the third van that's broke down in my dad's driveway.
So this is becoming a habit at this point.
It's weird. They get me all the way there. They're so faithful.
That's cool. That's a very good thing. What kind of bus do you have?
This is a 2001 Bluebird Chevy make, uh, medium length school bus. It's 25 feet.
Mm.
It's got a Caterpillar engine in it, and it's an automatic transmission. And right now, it's out of commission because my brake line is integrated.
Mm. Could be a lot worse though. Brake lines should be fairly easy to fix, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hitch over to Wasilla. It's like maybe 30 miles away, and bring in the brake line and match it up, and then install it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people give names to their vehicles. I know you've named your vans and things like that. What's the name of the school bus?
Tank.
Tank? Yeah.
Yeah, my tank.
Cool. Now, is that a reference to anything in particular?
Well, I've always fucking wanted a tank ever since I was a wee child. And B, I mean, obviously Tank Girl comics, because she's got a tank and that's really cool.
Yeah, I was.
And I feel like I live in the actual wasteland, so I kind of identify with Tank Girl in a way. Like,
Absolutely.
we're both stealing from water and power, you know?
Hell yeah. uh, how much was the bus?
It was 3,300. I talked him down from 3,800 because I have a silver tongue and cash in hand.
Nice. Was it like from a school district or a dealer or what?
No, this guy got it from a school district, and he was trying to turn it into a party bus. And he got burnt out on the party bus thing because he did a couple runs with it and realized that he hated dealing with drunk people in a
Mm,
professional manner.
yeah.
So Yeah, he put it up for sale. It was in great condition when I bought it, except there was a bit of a radiator leak, which I was able to fix pretty easily. So
Mm-hmm.
it's actually the best runner I've ever bought, and I've bought all my vehicles on Craigslist besides the ones that my family came me down, which was two vans.
Mm-hmm.
My first
Uh,
van and the one my grandpa gave me.
yeah, I think you haven't had very many repairs on it, right? It's been a very reliable vehicle for the most part, right?
Well, I had to get the calipers replaced in the front in Northern California. Quiet. Finn's growling at another dog barking. Stop. Um, so that was actually pretty hairy. My brakes were like on the verge of completely killing me to death.
When was
And I was
that?
driving down this crazy mountain. This was in Mendocino when I
Okay.
was doing some trim work earlier this summer.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, but other than that, the radiator leak and now the whole brake shit, that's pretty much all I've had to do with it.
Yeah. Is it hard to drive?
I think I like it. I think it's easy, but I don't know. I just like driving stuff, especially big stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It does really
I
have
think it
that.
handles really fucking well for its size. You've driven it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is pretty nice. Like you said before, though, too. I mean, it does have a real tough feel to it. It does feel like a tank. So,
Yeah.
what spurred the decision to get and live and travel in a school bus?
Well, I'd always been in vans and I'd been traveling and living out of vans for like almost a decade, like nearing a decade or something. And I thought like I'm always trying to make progress. So what's a step up from a conversion van? I mean, I don't know. So I just thought I'd kind of level up and try something a little bigger and have some studio space where I could create stuff and carry a
Hmm.
lot more stuff and live more comfortably. I don't know. It just made sense to have a small home. This is all I really need to be comfortable. I'm Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little cabin on wheels.
Yeah, I always think of it kind of like a turtle shell. You can just take your home with you wherever you go.
Yeah, it's nice. And
I
then when I
mean,
get sick of being too comfortable, I can pack it all in the backpack and park the bus somewhere.
yeah, which you've done several times, I believe, there in Alaska, which we'll get to here in just a second. But I think you'd recommend getting a school bus to other people.
There's definitely a few cautions to doing it. It's definitely not for everybody. Um, and there's a few things about getting a school bus that you don't realize until you get a school bus. You know, like finding insurance is kind of tricky,
Mm-hmm.
and just the attention that it draws. I get so many like rainbow kids approaching me like, "Hey fam, what's up, fam?" And I'm like, "I'm not your fam, dude. Like, leave me alone." I mean, I'm down to hang out, but I don't know. People be assuming things, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, but and I wouldn't want to drive a full length school bus unless I had a family or something. You
Mm.
really don't need that much stuff. And for me personally, less is more. A lot of people try to cram a ton of cabinets and things and storage space all over the place and like a bathroom and a washroom and all this stuff. And I mean, if you can be comfortable living minimally, like I have a camp shower for when I need it, but usually I just hit up RV parks and stuff and they have showers. And,
Mm-hmm.
just get outside and bring a shovel, and whatever. I guess like it's a lot easier if you don't try to cram a ton of stuff in a bus, I think.
Yeah. I think life's just easier in general if you try to be as minimalist as you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Try to live like I'm living out of a backpack all the time.
Oh yeah, totally, totally. I love that. Just like the simplicity of life, basically, when you're living in a backpack. What? So you took off from the slabs. Gosh, how long ago was it now to go to Alaska? Like, yeah, when did you leave?
Um, like I said, I don't really keep track of dates like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Um,
I think I
but
left Slabs in late March. Oh, I got to Anchorage on April 20th. And the only reason
okay.
I remember is because it was 420.
Ah. um, well, so what triggered the whole Alaska thing? Like, why did you want to go so far from Slab City to like basically the other side of the planet almost?
Well, like you remember my first big quest that I was drawn like west, right? And I was just like west, 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 you know.
Mm-hmm.
So this time I was like north, 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 and then I did that. I don't know. I think in extremes.
So next it'll be South Pole, South Pole.
Yeah, I really want to hitchhike to South America next.
Cool, cool. Hell yeah. That'd be a hell of an adventure. I'd love to see those videos.
Yeah,
um, how long did it take to drive up from California to you said Anchorage, Alaska, right?
yeah. The drive, I believe, is in total 64 hours.
Wow.
Um, but I stopped off at a few places for a few days here and there, and then I stopped in Mendocino for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And hmm, yeah, so I left like late April or late March and arrived in Anchorage late April.
Okay.
But
March,
yeah,
April, yeah.
it's a
So a
long
couple.
trip. It was
I
a,
mean, you took your time getting up there, right? You weren't
yeah,
like
I
in a
like to take
rush or
my
anything.
time.
Yeah.
No. Plus, I
Okay.
I actually left Slab City with $27 and a half tank of diesel.
Nice. You just fucking made it work. I love that
Yeah,
because fucking people are always just like, oh, I can never do that because I can never afford it or I wouldn't know what I
it
would
just takes a little bit
do.
more time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's always a way. You know, people do the craziest shit on the most ridiculous shoestring budgets I've ever seen. You know, and they just people make it work, you know. And I always think that's like the most fascinating thing about like doing things like you've done, driving up the coast, starting off with $27. So, you know, like you make it work, you know, like you figure it out and you accomplish something, you know.
Yeah,
So
a lot of my funds traveling up came from my YouTube fans, so I obviously got to give them a shout out and a super thanks for their support.
absolutely, hell yeah. um did you I mean, did you stop at any like special destinations? Did you have anything like you're like I must stop at this place along the way up to Alaska or
I don't know. I kind of just like
meandered?
I run on just gut feeling and circumstantial luck. I gamble with space and time.
Yeah. I like how you put
Um,
that. That's a good yeah.
One of my favorite spots, like when I first was realizing like how far in the middle of nowhere I was like somewhere in the middle of British Columbia.
Mhm.
Oh, it was near the Yukon Territory border, and like it was just starting to dawn on me like there's nothing else for like 300 miles before or behind me, and there's no
Mhm.
fucking service. Like it's crazy. Been driving so long, and I ended up at this hella ski resort where like rich people would go and like fly out to and take helicopters up to the peaks of the mountains and ski down, and they had like fucking bourgeois feasts and stuff. And I got some of their rich people scraps. I made
Hell
friends with
yeah.
some folks living there, and they let me access the spa and shit for an evening. And I got like a really rare experience there.
That's
Um,
always crazy. I love those
yeah,
experiences where you're just like, I get to play a rich person for the night, you know?
I had
Like,
I had like duck and creme brulee, and I took a little yoga class and hung out in a hot tub, like surrounded by snow and shit. It was
hell
fucking epic.
yeah. That's pretty pimp. That's awesome. So what was Anchorage the final destination for the bus, and then you started hitchhiking from there, right?
No, I was staying and volunteering work at this hostel that my friends work at, and my the friend I mentioned before, Nate Dom, that wrote the cool book about him being awesome. He was working there the year before my friends started working there, and this was their second year, I believe. So I kind of had like a rapport with
Mm-hmm.
the guy who owns and runs the hostel, and he allowed me to hang out there for about a month while I kind of got my bearings and checked out, like, got to know Alaska a little better. And meanwhile, I was preparing my gear for my trip. I started with like, I mean, I didn't have really any backpacking gear at this point. I had some stuff because I've been living outdoors for a long time, basic stuff, but I didn't have a decent pack or a tent or anything like that, or a good sleeping bag. So I got donated a couple items. Oh yeah, my boots too that have lasted me
Mm-hmm.
all summer. And
Nice.
yeah, and I put up a wish list on Amazon that I shared on my YouTube so people could buy me little things to add to my pack. So I ended up with some really fucking sweet gear that I'm super excited about.
Hell yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't know.
So at some point you decided to park the bus though and hitchhike, right? Like you wanted to
Yeah,
hitchhike to the furthest north? Was that the goal?
I had I made some friends in near Palmer in a town just outside of there, and they offered a place for my bus to be parked for the summer. So then I hitched. My goal was to hitch from Homer, which is the southernmost point that you can reach by road in Alaska. Um, I mean, besides like Juneau, but I'm not counting that. In
Hmm.
the Homer is on the Kenai Peninsula, the tip of the Kenai Peninsula, and I wanted to hitch from there up to Prudhoe Bay, which is at the very top of the state, along the Arctic Ocean.
Okay. So
It,
why was that the your goal? Just to like get as
because I
far
think
north
in
as possible?
extremes, I want to
Okay.
south to north. I want to do like the whole thing. So
Okay,
I did that.
cool. Hell yeah, that's fucking admirable as fuck, man. I was just like that's pretty sweet. Yeah, yeah. Uh, so, what were your favorite things that you saw while you were in Alaska, or favorite things you did?
Um, huh. I guess just being out so far away from other stuff has been really cool and kind of grounding and
Hmm.
humbling as a person, just like looking around and realizing that I'm the only human for miles and miles. And, there's shit out there that can totally fuck me up.
Were you
And
afraid of
that's what I liked.
wildlife at all?
I mean, I was definitely like on guard. I didn't have any close encounters, but I did see like maybe I saw a lot of bears just
Hmm.
running around being bears, and they're big, and like I wouldn't want to fight one. So it's like when I was in Coldfoot trying to hitch to Prudhoe, everybody's like, "Oh, you're tenting? That's crazy." Well, you're gonna fucking for sure get mauled by a bear. Like it's a fact. You will get mauled by a bear. And I heard this from like multiple people, and I'm like, awesome, great.
Great. Thanks for the vote of
But I'm
support,
still.
guys.
I mean, I'm not gonna not sleep in a tent. Like that's just not an option. Like hotels up there are hundreds of dollars for a night because it's
Mm.
like you're basically in a fucking space colony. Um,
Yeah, self-contained city.
yeah, you're in basically like a space colony. All of these different camps like have all this shit contained within them. There's no restaurants or like chain stores or anything like that. There's just different camps, and they all have different stuff that they offer inside of these big like crate looking things that are built on top of the tundra because they can't like create, they can't dig down and have like a base for it, so they have to build on top of it, so it all looks really weird.
Mm.
And you have to wear booties and gloves when you like go in. Yeah, you got to put like these slippers over your boots to go into any building, and if you're going to touch food you have to put on gloves
Weird. Why is that?
because everybody's all contained inside, and there's people like coming in internationally, like there's scientists and pipeline workers and people from like all over, and it
Hmm.
kind of like germs spiral out of control really quick, and if one person gets sick everybody gets sick, and then it's just a clusterfuck.
Wow, that I had no idea. I'd never heard that before. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, it was pretty interesting.
All right. Well, moving on. I hope I'm not wearing you out at this point. I know I've asked you a lot of questions. I have a few more. I hope
Okay,
you'll bear
one
with me.
second, I gotta do something here.
Sure, sure. Let's see. Wonder how many people we got in the chat.
13.
13. Cool. Baby steps, man. Getting more and more all the time. Let's see here. Whoops. Um, oh, I got a little bit discombobulated. Um, where am I? Okay, there. Um, well, crud. Okay, there we go. Well, I think I screwed up my video feeds, but that's okay. Whatever, fuck it. Um, I let's see. What was I gonna ask you? Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about your YouTube channel. Um,
Uh-huh.
basically, like, what kind of videos can people find on your channel?
I do just videos about my life and experiences. A lot of it is about Slab City and traveler culture, and more recently, obviously, it's been about rubber tramping to Alaska and hitchhiking Alaska. But it is mostly traveler focused
Okay,
and
so
counterculture.
Basically like video blogging your travels around and kind of a day-to-day life type of thing.
Kind of, yeah. I just try to show things real, unfiltered, and honest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. So people can find. I'll definitely put a link to your channel, obviously, in the show notes here, so that people can find that. But I'm kind of curious. You've got a pretty good following, and you get lots of comments and stuff. And I always tell people that YouTube comments are kind of you basically never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than the YouTube comments section. It's
Hmm.
basically like how do you, like I'm kind of curious, like how do you deal with trolls and stuff?
How do I deal with them?
Yeah, or do you just
Um,
ignore it? Do you just not feed the trolls at all? Like you just ignore them?
mostly I just try to keep everything tidy. Like I'll just go and report every single shitty comment, except for the ones that like I kind of feel like answering to, and then I'll like put very little effort toward it and just be like, "You're stupid," and then like move on, and just like let that develop. Because sometimes I like to troll people back, and so I kind of pick and choose my battles. For the most
Yeah,
part, I try to keep it tidy, and uh, it is a lot to filter through. I get a lot of just weird, specific comments, like a lot of sexual harassment type stuff, or like hate comments toward people of a certain, I guess, social status, like hobos and homeless people and stuff. Like people say really hateful things about people that don't look like them.
yeah,
So I deal with a
yeah.
lot of that.
Have you met a lot of people in real life through your YouTube channel? Like fans of the show and
Yeah.
things? Yeah.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people through my YouTube channel, and I've been hosted by a handful of folks that have really helped me along my journey. Um, I stayed outside of uh, my friend Ben Inya, his house. He does like a fucking podcast,
Really?
and he hosted me,
That's
and it was
awesome.
really cool. Yeah.
I'd be curious. I've
Um,
never thought to look up a pot podcast.
it's funny. I was on it, and there's a video where I get super fucking high on dabs with this dude, and it was cool.
Awesome.
Um, let's see what else. Yeah, I've met tons of people. There was this one guy that just wanted to meet up with me, and he's like, "I just want to like say what's up and shake your hand and give you $100." So I was like, "All right, cool." Like, so
Hell
that
yeah.
happens every now and then. Or like sometimes I'll be busking somewhere and somebody will randomly recognize me. This has happened like a couple of times now, and fucking hook me up with like a meal or a couple bucks or something.
That's cool. Is it kind of
Yeah.
like a once in a blue moon type of thing, or is it like fairly often? It seems like you have a pretty big viewership, so.
I mean, it doesn't happen every day, but it happens every once in a while, I guess, like a couple times a month where somebody would be like, "Oh, hey, I know who you are." uh, Especially
That's
when I'm in
cool.
California, though. Like when I'm closer to slabs, more people per capita know who I am, just because it's more of a, I don't know, local audience, so they're interested in what's going on in
Oh yeah, totally.
California.
Hmm.
So it happens a lot more frequently when I'm down there.
Hmm. I was wondering, do you have like suggestions for other people that want to start their own like YouTube channel?
Um, I don't know, man. YouTube kind of blows.
It's definitely been a rocky relationship over the
I
past
want to
couple of
find a
years.
way out. I'm trying to find a way out. But,
Yeah.
if you're, I'm not doing it for the YouTube, I'm not doing it for the fame or the attention or I guess for money. I've never made a fucking dime off of YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, and it's really hard to, especially if you're doing transgressive content and yeah, they're not very helpful.
They're really
But
not.
if
I
you're doing
mean,
it, yeah,
sorry,
but if
go
you're
ahead.
doing it because you wanna expose people to a certain aspect of life, or like if you're really passionate about like putting out content, then it's a great way to share it.
Hmm. I always tell people like that do it because they love it, not because they'll make a buck off of it or get famous or anything like
Hmm.
that. Because ironically, that's the only way that the people that you do see who are famous and made money on YouTube got there is because they were just churned out uh, something content that they love to do and are passionate about, and they did it for a long time before they got anything out of it in return, and not a lot of
And
people are willing to put
also,
in that work. So
yeah, and it's not just work doing it, because a lot of people get hung up on creating content rather than like living content.
mm, mm-hmm.
If you're always focused on capturing a bunch of shit, sometimes you're gonna get like you're gonna be doing mundane stuff. But if you actually just focus more on like living your dreams and doing what you want to do, or expressing yourself, then you're gonna have more quality content.
Yeah, yeah, it just happens naturally, so just don't
Hmm.
force it. uh
Cultivate your skills.
yeah, totally, totally. I think some people are kind of curious about like how a lot of travelers, yourself included, like survive financially. I think you've kind of already touched on that for the most part, but
Yeah.
um, from what I gather, I mean it's just mostly like a patchwork of like odd jobs and keeping your expenses down and things like that.
Hmm. And scoring free shit.
Yeah, that
And
always helps.
you just got to be creative and keep your eyes open and look for opportunities where you're not going to be putting anybody else at a disadvantage, but you know like score free shit, look in dumpsters, and check free tables and stuff, and just do odd jobs. Don't be afraid to do the dirty ones too, because they're easier to get, especially for a short amount of time. You can get paid under the
Hmm.
table usually. um, yeah, just be clever. Look on Craigslist too, or other public listings for different opportunities that suit you.
Cool.
I myself, when I first went on the road, I used a barter blanket, and I had just a fucking scarf about this long that I would roll up, and I had a bunch of shiny bits and like handmade jewelry on it. And I would just unroll it and sit down on the sidewalk and work on making more jewelry at the same time. And people would see that I was like busy creating stuff, and they would see the stuff that I created.
Hmm.
And I was able to get like, if I unrolled the blanket and sat for an evening, I could make like generally about $60.
Cool. That's a good gig.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not bad.
Nice. Yeah.
And I started
Uh,
making like other stuff too.
uh, what do you think? Like, I don't want to get too dark or anything, but like, I know some people are like curious about like, maybe some of the low points of travel. Like some of your travels. Like, I always tell people like, there's gonna be points where I call it paying your dues, basically, where like you're walking that 10-mile walk through the rain and you're just miserable and cold and wet and you're just like, fuck, why am I doing this? But obviously the good times always outnumber the bad, otherwise we probably wouldn't be doing this, right? So
Hmm.
I don't know if you had like good or bad things just in general from the lifestyle that you wanted to share, or
Um, yeah, I've had a few gnarly experiences. Um, the I don't know. The most recent like shitty tramping experience I had was sleeping up in Prudhoe, and I'm like fucking wet. It's been raining. It's cold as fuck, and I get up and there's like a swarm of mosquitoes waiting
mm.
for me in the rain fly, and I had to wear my tent to like keep them off of me, and I'm
You
like
had to
fucking scraping down the high
wear
like
your tent.
I, I had to like, cause I lost my fucking bug net, so I like had to fashion my tent into like this netted hood, and I looked just ridiculous. And I'm just trudging down the highway like wet and like sweating, and I think I'm gonna miss my shuttle to the fucking Arctic Ocean,
Mm.
and I'm like all like just sweaty and grimy as fuck and smelly and like just angry. And I
But
had to
it makes
like
such
kind
a
of like
funny story afterwards, though, right?
yeah, and I'm like jogging with my pack and like fucking I put on too many layers, so I'm like fucking boiling in my jacket, but I can't stop and like take off my pack and like put everything away. So I'm just like
Ugh.
shitty backpack jogging all the way to where I got to get the shuttle, and I'm being chased by this fucking swarm of mosquitoes. And that sucked.
Yeah, like I said, man, it's like as long as you can laugh about it afterwards, like if it makes a good story, then it's not so bad. In the moment, you're just like, fuck life.
I was pissed, dude.
Yeah. I've been in points like that for sure. Like, um, I was wondering if you like had any comments for people that think that travelers are just fucking crazy, or like anyone that doesn't have a house, like a quote unquote house, a picket fence or whatever, is just crazy, or even like less than this other people in
So,
society. I mean, do you have
what would I
anything?
say to people who say that?
Yeah,
I would say, you're crazy. You're fucking
yeah.
crazy. Fuck you. Go home. You fucking
why why are they crazy though? Why are they the crazy ones?
why is anybody crazy? Why is anybody not crazy? Like, what the fuck is that? I don't know. Like, humans have been living nomadically for more time of our human history than not. So, like,
Hmm.
who's crazy? You know,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think it's just a
different
like different
different strokes for
perspective.
different folks, man. We
Yeah.
all need each other. If there was no adventurers, then what would normal people tell stories about to their kids at night?
Hmm.
And if there was no people living in houses holding down normal jobs, like, who would make our fucking awesome tablets and Android phones
True.
and
That's a very, very
design the
good
shit that goes
perspective.
with it, or like fucking create the cool knickknacks we enjoy all the time? I mean,
Hmm.
like, are we worse or better for any of it? Who knows? Matter? Not really.
Good answer. Good answer. I like it. I have one more question along that line, where from they go by Adventures with Jane on Facebook. They were
uh,
asking if you're ever afraid.
yeah, I'm a huge wuss.
What? I don't believe that for a
Yeah,
second.
I'm a complete and total wuss.
You don't
Like,
sure as shit
in,
don't show it then.
inside of its cool exterior is like a frightened little child that's like, oh my god, like, why are we doing this? Like, this is very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I like consciously chose that I wasn't going to manifest that and just kind of do things anyway, because like, what is anything? So
Hmm.
I don't know. It seemed more
Yeah.
fun to just like choose to do scary things and hope for the best probability wise thing to happen.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm scared a lot of the time.
But I think a lot. I think that's how you grow as a person, though. It's like it is. Forcing yourself to
Yeah,
face your fears is the only way to overcome them. Obviously, so
yeah.
just putting yourself out there.
Being brave isn't being not being afraid. It's being brave enough to face your fears or some shit like that. Somebody said something cool along those lines.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Totally. I don't remember the exact quote either, but I got you.
Yeah, you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I know what you're saying. Totally. Um, I was wondering if there was like any like books or movies or like any other like resources that like really influenced you, like influenced your travels, or just the way you live? Like, if there's like anything you wanted to like tell people about that you think they must see that had a really big impact on your life.
Uh, I don't know. That's a really open question.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, there's nothing like something you saw, like maybe in a movie or like in, you know, like for example, I think a good example for myself is honestly is Days of War, Nights of Love by Crime Think. I don't know if you've ever
Mm.
read that book. I haven't read it in like 10 years or something, but like that. But it's very anarchist. Like life is like way too precious to be spinning around, sitting in a cubicle, and selling your life away for such amount of dollars an hour. That's kind of like the theme of the book, basically. And I was just like, the fuck, you're right. I need to get the fuck out of here. And I just started shoving shit in my bag. He like, like left basically, So
Huh.
it definitely helped a lot.
Um, guess my first introductions to counterculture was through beat poets and writers.
Hmm.
So I took a lot of inspiration from that. I read Hunter S. Thompson
Oh
and
yeah.
William S.
Yeah.
Burroughs, and the poetry of Ginsberg and shit like that.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I thought that was really cool to learn that there was actually an established, um, culture like that, and it really inspired me to write poetry and start writing seriously.
That's
So that was kind
awesome.
of my first introduction to counterculture thought.
Cool. Cool. Do you have any advice for people that are just starting to travel or want to go travel?
Um, just do it, and
Just make your
I
dreams
mean,
come true.
plan and make sure that you always have a plan B. Expect the worst, prepare for the best, and always carry a water filter. And
Hmm.
I mean, that's I think it's great because like if you can find water, you don't need to. Like, I don't know. I've found it very handy. Always carry TP. Um, I don't know. It's really not that hard. A lot of people do it, and a lot of people that are like way dumber than you. So you just like in general,
That's
you.
totally true. That's totally,
It's true though.
absolutely true.
If they can figure it out, you can. And yeah, there's all sorts of opportunities. You just got to put yourself out there and trust your luck in the universe and try to stay righteous, and things will work out.
Okay, well, I'm kind of wrapping things up here. I did come across one or two, I thought, questions that might be kind of funny. First off, is what is your favorite curse word? Pretty easy.
Fuck. I also like cunt. I don't consider that a curse word.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I like combining things in the moment when I'm actually like mad and just getting creative with it because it helps me channel my rage.
Combinations,
Just
yeah.
yeah, just say it's like a stream of consciousness, like spoken word poem of
Yeah,
curse
yeah.
words.
I kind of picture it like a video game where you're trying to get the most combos for the high score curse word.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Combo.
yeah. Uh, so my other like weird oddball question that I just thought would be funny to pitch to you is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird do you think you are?
That is relative, Matt Derrick.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Is
I don't know how to answer that question. That's
that's cool.
giving
It's
me an
kind
existential crisis.
yeah, it's just kind of I'm enjoying the look on your face right now. Well, anyways, how can people stay updated on your travels? Is it just the YouTube channel? Are you doing anything on Facebook or anything else, or
Um, yeah. I actually Facebook is a good way to just kind of follow along with what I'm doing day to day, and as well as doing Instagram now a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course, YouTube is the best way to like. It's the medium that I'm putting the most work into right now. So that's what it's all about. If you want to like keep up with my adventures, you'll see the highlights of what I've been up to. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
obviously, searching for Cornelius Vango, you'll be like the first hit if people are
yeah,
lurking on YouTube. Like I said, we'll have a link
yep.
in the
I'm
show
Cornelius
notes.
Vango on yeah
Yeah.
on everything. Cool. Yeah.
Well, Corn, I really, really appreciate you coming on the show, and thank you for bearing with me for 2 solid hours of intense questioning.
Yeah.
Uh,
My pleasure.
but you had some really, really great things to say, and I'm very stoked about this particular podcast. I thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
um, to everyone else out there listening, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more, you know the drill, the like button, or just like really, really smash the dislike button really hard with all your rage. If you didn't like it, I don't think that's probably the case. But if you really, really like this, you should tell everyone you know and subscribe, and that way you can get some more in the future. So more interesting people like Corn uh, that will be blowing us away with awesome stories. uh, if we're always looking for more interesting people to talk to, other travelers, or if you just do something interesting that would be of interest to the traveler world, just drop a line at feedback@squattheplanet.com, or get a hold of me on Squat the Planet, post in the YouTube comments, whatever. I reply to all that stuff. So basically, I think that is it for this episode. Like I said, thank you, Corn, for joining us. And everyone, thank you for watching us. Hopefully, you all made it to the end here. And until next week, safe travels. All right. Let's see here.